Hello everyone, Tomas here. Today we're going to be repairing this Jouef 231C Pacific type locomotive. This is going to be an interesting one for me because I've never tried an engine from Jouef. I know they're a French manufacturer that specialized in mainly just toy grade locomotives, and I believe now they are a part of Hornby. I don't know if they still release stuff under the Jouef name, but I've heard a lot of good things about them as being a classic toy brand. So when I saw this for only 20 bucks on eBay, I thought, hey, why not give it a shot? And also just like, that's pretty cheap, all things considered. Usually European stuff and Jouef stuff is kind of expensive in the US, so it was a deal that I didn't really want to pass up. Now, this model, I believe the tooling is pretty old. I found a lot of versions of this same engine, but they're like black, and the motor is in the actual locomotive instead of the tender, because this one is actually a tender drawing. This locomotive is just a dummy, so this is where all the power comes from. And this thing is super heavy because it's got this huge weight in it. But my locomotive, I believe, is a bit more modern, just based on like, build quality and just manufacturing techniques. It just seems probably newer than the original version, so that's kind of interesting. As far as functionality goes, this locomotive is a complete non-runner. I have power to the track right now and nothing is happening. I believe that wires in the actual motor are not like attached anymore, and I also noticed there's like a screw that's undone down there, and I don't know, there's just a whole host of issues. Look at those dirty wheels. Or no, I'm sorry, those are traction tires, but it looks like, no, they're all there, but these are the pickup wheels, and these are dirty as heck too. So yeah, we got our work cut out for us, I think. And hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have a cool European Pacific to run around. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so here's the locomotive on the workbench. We don't really need this because there's no electrical on this or anything. This is literally just a dummy, so I'm just gonna put this to the side. What we really need to work on is the tender. So the shell just comes right off. And then on the sides, there are these tabs that hold in this weight. Just gotta be careful because this plastic is a little flimsy. Go. So that is where all the weight comes from, really. Now this is very light. So it looks like this whole motor unit is held in by this peg right here. So I'm wondering if it's possible to just squeeze that in. Let's see if that'll just come right out. Yep. Nice. So that will make working on this a whole lot easier. Then, I mentioned it before, but there's a screw. It's supposed to be coming up out of this hole that's supposed to hold in that tender shell, but it's sort of just dangling in there. So I'm wondering, how can I remove this truck? Because there's not really an obvious way to do it. I'm just gonna try taking out these screws here and here and see just what happens. Okay, so that did pretty much nothing. There's a screw right here, but that looks like it holds in the coupling, but maybe it also holds on this plate. I'm not sure. Let's find out. Oh, I think we got it. Did we? Let's see. That gives us the coupling, but that's still on there. It's like looser now though. I don't know what's holding it on. Okay, so I'm gonna just do some research and try to figure out how to get that truck off. I think this little washer on this like brass thing right here is what's holding it on, but I'm not exactly sure how I would take it off. So for now, I'm just gonna leave this to the side and we're gonna get this motor unit working. All right, so I think this motor just pops out. I think it's just held in by that plastic. This is definitely interesting because the commutator is covered up by this large piece of metal or plastic. I'm not sure. So how about we just see how it actually works, and that will tell us if we really need to even clean it. All right, let's give it a test. Oh, that actually works pretty nicely. Okay, so, I mean, that seems fine. I guess having that cover on there has kept the commutator pretty clean, so that's good. Let's just reattach these, actually, and we're just gonna put a little oil. All right, so I think the motor's fine. So after looking at this motor truck for a little bit, or rather, I guess the gearbox, I don't know what you want to call this. As you can see, it rolls pretty nicely. And this thing is pretty complicated looking, so I don't really want to take it apart. And I don't really think I need to because it seems to work just fine. It's just pretty dirty. So I'm just going to basically scrub the whole thing with dish soap and then go in there with a Q-tip. And we'll see how it is from there. Alright, so I cleaned the gearbox with some dish soap. And now it looks a whole lot cleaner. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with the engineering on this one. This thing is just buttery smooth without any oil or grease. It's very impressive how like free rolling this is. Anyways, let's get this thing oiled up. Okay, so now that the gearbox is serviced, we're going to put the motor back in just to test it out and make sure everything's in good working nick. All right, let's see. So that's really smooth, honestly. It's very quiet besides the motor, which is a little loud, but like the actual gears are not making any sound, which is really impressive. So I'm hoping this will be a pretty smooth runner. So now that this part of the locomotive is pretty much serviced and ready, we're going to put it to the side and we're going to get back to this part. So I was able to, I guess that came out, I was able to figure out that you can just pull those wheels out, which is pretty helpful because now we can clean them more easily. The way this locomotive picks up power, it is weirdly only two-wheel pickup, so I don't know how great the pickup's going to be, but it gets power by these brass tabs in here, which you can see are absolutely filthy, which touch these, I don't know, parts of the wheels, and that's how it gets power. So we got to clean those because those are nasty. And also these wheels are just nasty in general. The whole thing is gross. So we're just gonna get the carbon fiber pen and, you know, go crazy. Okay, so I managed to figure out how to remove this plate, and that allowed me to sufficiently clean the wheels and the pickups on the inside. So I'm just gonna put some oil in here, and then this is conductive lube, by the way. I'm gonna just put this plate back on, and then hopefully that part should be good to go. Yeah, seems good. Okay, so now that this part is all serviced and the gearbox and motor are serviced, we have to bring these pieces together, marry them back into one locomotive. Before we can do that, we have to fix this wiring issue that I noticed. So in here, there are these two brass tabs, and these tiny little metal bits go on those tabs, but as you can tell, one of the wires that was attached to one of those broke, and then the other wire is just completely missing. So I need to get another wire and attach it, and then solder them back to these things, and then reapply them to these little brass tabs. And hopefully that should allow the locomotive to pick up power again. So let's do that. So this is the original piece of wire that was on the locomotive, and I believe this is bell wire. And this stuff is pretty bad because it can break very easily after bending it only a couple times. So I'm going to replace it with this wire, which I don't know what you call this. It's the wire where it's like a bunch of little strands all twisted up. And usually those work best for model purposes, in my experience at least. Okay, so now that these wires are attached to the motor along with these tabs, I can go ahead and start just reassembling. So this just goes in here. It's just a snap fit. And then this all goes up and through here. There's a clip right here. Just press that in. Oh shoot. Actually, no, I can still do it. So these go down here. It's a little tight. That's okay. I'm just gonna take pliers and press them down. Same on the other side. Okay, so theoretically, this should work. Let's give it a go. Okay, let's give it a go. it needs the weight to hold down the pickup wheels. Okay, 1 second. It was picking up power though, so it is most likely going to work. Okay. That does not look right. Yeah, that wheel is not sitting flat for some reason. Okay, well, let's just try it anyways. Why is that happening? Okay, so I basically just adjusted those. Well, I can just show you the tabs that I had to resolder were basically, I don't know, I guess these things are so strong that they were holding the truck up in the wrong position. So I basically just rotated them, and now it works fine. Yeah, it's not on the track. It's pretty smooth. The only real problem is that, oh, okay. We're not quite out of the woods yet, it looks like. What just happened? Why is this wheel not rolling? Okay, I'm gonna make some adjustments and I'll come back once this is running properly. Okay, so I just adjusted some screws here and there and it seems to run fine. The pickup is not very good though, because again, it's only this truck that's picking up. So it has a tendency to cut out. But otherwise, this should theoretically be done. The only thing left we have to do is put the tender shell back on, which I'm just realizing I may have to take off this plate to put this screw in, but that's okay. I'll figure it out. All right, I'm gonna put that back on, and then we will go down to the layout and test the locomotive out finally. All right, so we have our Jouef Pacific on the layout. Let's see if this thing works. Wow. Yes, it does, and it actually runs very smoothly. Look at that. Oh my god. That's crazy. Look at that. I'm actually impressed. Oh, it cut out. Wow. I'm okay. I was not expecting that. I mean, it cut out, I assume, because of the bad pickup, but look at how smooth that is. Cut out. Yeah, so obviously the pickup isn't great, but it's working really well. I'm surprised. It was only 20 bucks. So that's really nice. I was a little worried this wasn't going to be any good, just based on the nature of the drive, but this is actually very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, so overall, I'm very impressed with this locomotive. I thought it was going to be pretty cheap, just based on the price, and I mean cheap as in quality, but based on the price and also just how it is. You know, very low detail, pretty simple as far as, you know, construction goes. I thought this was going to be a pretty cheap locomotive, but the mechanism is actually very, very nice. The only real problem with it is, again, the pickups. It makes no sense. I don't know why you would have all this dummy locomotive with metal wheels, by the way, and not have pickups on those wheels, because that would completely solve the problem of pickups. But instead, it basically has the pickups of an 040 with these two wheels back here, which it makes no sense. And it sucks because the drive is actually pretty nice, but I don't know. I was running it around a bit, and at speed, it's very smooth. It can't like maintain a crawl for very long without cutting out. I say that, and it does it perfectly. I mean, you can see though, this is a very smooth drive. It's very impressive. That's beautiful, honestly. Yeah, but it's clearly a nice runner. It's very simple in terms of detail. I was looking on eBay though, and these can go for like up to $100. I would not pay that much money for what this is. This is a pretty simple locomotive, all things considered. And even though the drive is nice, I just don't think it's worth that much money. I think at max it's worth like 40 bucks, but that's just my take on it. Overall, I really like this engine though, so I'm excited to get it running with some coaches. So let's do that. Thank you for watching. Thomas out.
Des yeux qui font baisser les miens, un rire qui se perd sur sa bouche, voilà le portrait sans retouche de l'homme auquel j'appartiens. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, qu'il me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. Il me dit des mots d'amour, des mots de tous les jours, et ça me fait quelque chose. Il est entré dans mon cœur une part de bonheur dont je connais la cause.